Hey guys, welcome back to the Sleepy Science. The sky beyond your window has begun to dim, blue slides toward violet, and somewhere between sunset and starlight you feel it, the ancient hush pulling gently at the edges of your awareness. Your breath slows, your shoulders soften. The day begins to unravel like a scroll returning to the void. The lights of the world may still glow, neon, halogen, LED, but your body remembers a deeper cue, one older than civilization itself. You sit still, or maybe you're lying down. The hum of a fan curls in the corner. The screen's soft glow fades a little more as your focus drifts inward, and just for a moment you remember something small but profound. You're an animal, a rhythmic being in a rhythmic universe. And sleep is not a shutdown, it's a doorway. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it over there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As dusk arrives, your mind begins to yawn, not just from tiredness, but from remembering, from recognizing that this is not just the end of your day, but a return to a ceremony so old, it predates language. The soft descent into night has always been more than rest. It's been a kind of signal, a biological ritual shared across the animal kingdom, across history, across stars. Your sleep cycle, what scientists call your circadian rhythm, is governed by a bundle of about 20,000 neurons deep in your brain in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, just above where the optic nerves cross. Like a little lighthouse, it flashes its signal through your body, telling you when to wake, when to sleep, when to heal, and when to dream. This clock isn't something you set, it's something you inherit, shaped by light, fine-tuned by evolution. It's the reason you feel sleepy at 10 p.m. and alert at noon, even if the internet wants you scrolling till 3 a.m., and it's not just humans. Even sunflowers, which don't even have nervous systems, turn their heads daily with this rhythm. But for humans, it's more than biology. It's a mood, a feeling, a slow release from the grip of gravity, both literal and emotional. You feel it now, don't you? That strange, quiet pull, like the world is gently tugging you backward into softness. The light fades, and your mind becomes a lantern. Some philosophers believe that night is the truest version of the self, that only when our daily performance dims can our deeper truth speak. And what does yours whisper tonight? There's a soft irony here. As the sun disappears from your sky, your body begins its most important work. Cells regenerate, hormones balance, the immune system goes into quiet overdrive, like a midnight janitor sweeping up the chaos of consciousness. It's funny, isn't it? You do the least, and your body does the most. And yet, sleep has always been slightly suspicious in history, something to be resisted, controlled, outwitted. Even Shakespeare called it death's counterfeit. That poetic drama, whispered through iambic syllables, may have been his own insomniac protest. He probably wouldn't have done well with push notifications. But here's the twist. Our ancestors didn't sleep like we do. Historical records from before the Industrial Revolution show that humans used to sleep in two parts, a first sleep from dusk until midnight, and a second sleep from around 2 a.m. to dawn. Between them, a waking hour or two of prayer, poetry, tea, or other recreational activities. Let's just say, medieval babies weren't all conceived at bedtime. Some scientists call this segmented sleep, and it still occurs in many rural or non-electrified societies. Which raises the question, what's natural anymore? Maybe that's the most peculiar part of your sleep. How little of it actually belongs to you. Time zones, school bells, 9-to-5 serve, caffeine culture. They hijack your internal drum and hand you someone else's sheet music. No wonder so many of us walk through life jet-lagged, even if we've never left our hometown. Even more odd, we're the only species that deliberately delays sleep. No dolphin stays up to finish just one more episode. No wolf fights off rest to scroll through Fox memes at midnight. Only we trick ourselves into exhaustion and call it freedom. So tonight, as you lie here in the hush of your own breath, drifting slowly downward, remember this. Your sleep isn't laziness. It's architecture. A slow, sacred construction site where tomorrow's mind is quietly being built. And if your thoughts wander as they always do, You might ask yourself, what would happen if we actually listened to this rhythm again? If instead of resisting the pull of night, we embraced it, not just individually, but as a culture? Because here's the beautiful, quiet rebellion. Every time you allow yourself to sleep fully, deeply, without apology, you're not just healing, you're remembering. You're stepping into a tradition older than clocks, than kings, than even language. The lights are dim now, your pulse is soft, the door to something older has creaked open just a little more. And beyond it, something is waiting. The drift becomes a float, the float becomes a gentle fall, and as you descend further, time seems to slow, stretch, dissolve, like the last sliver of twilight that refuses to fully fade. But there's something different here tonight, a whisper on the air, a thread of thought drifting in with your breath, and you follow it, curious, drowsy, like a child wandering through tall grass toward a distant melody. It's the hum of civilization, not its roar, not its concrete weight, but its soft vibration, the one that began when humans first decided to organize time. Long ago, before your phone buzzed with calendar reminders, before the invention of being late, there was only sun and shadow, day and night, wake and sleep. That was enough. But then came agriculture and harvest schedules and temples aligned to solstices, and eventually, clocks. Mechanical timekeeping, the heartbeat of modern society, was born in monasteries. Can you picture it? Hooded monks in stone towers ringing bells at exact intervals to call the community to prayer. That was the origin of the 24-hour day you now live inside. A rhythm first struck, not by machines, but by devotion. Of course, it didn't take long for that rhythm to become something else. By the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution needed humans to become cogs in machines. Sleep? Too long, too messy, too unpredictable. So workdays were scheduled, factory shifts enforced, and alarm clocks, those tiny tyrants, became a symbol of progress. And you inherited all of it. Isn't it funny that your natural, intuitive sleep cycle, the one shaped by sunsets and silence, has to now compete with fluorescent lights, graveyard shifts, and 3 a.m. email replies? You live in a world where time is no longer told by stars or sand, but by glass screens glowing from your nightstand. And yet, inside you, the old rhythm still knocks. That's why, even when you want to stay up late, some part of your body protests. Your core temperature drops. Melatonin begins to bloom in your blood. Your eyelids flutter like soft sails in dusk's wind. But society pushes back. Late night, hustle culture, binge-worthy series, global time zones that never sleep. You're told that rest is weakness, that ambition is caffeinated, that productivity never pauses. That's the irony. We built civilization on the back of sleep, and then decided to ignore the very thing that made us human. Have you ever noticed how children fall asleep without shame? They collapse mid-sentence, mid-chew, mid-laugh, wherever their bodies demand it. That was once you. That is still you beneath the layers of adult logic and calendar stress. Even your language betrays the shift. Burning the midnight oil. Sleeping in, early bird gets the worm. All coded with value judgments. We reward early risers and shame night owls. But did you know that your chronotype, whether you're more alert in the morning or at night, is largely genetic? That's right. Your internal clock isn't laziness or discipline, it's biology. Studies have shown that roughly 40% of people are morning types, 30% are evening types, and the rest float somewhere in the middle. Which means forcing a night owl to rise at 6 a.m. for a 9-to-5 job is like asking a dolphin to walk to work. They'll do it, but they're going to look deeply confused. This mismatch isn't trivial. Researchers linked social jet lag, the gap between our natural rhythm and our enforced schedule, to a range of issues: depression, obesity, even heart disease. It's as if our bodies are quietly rebelling, night after night. But there's hope in this realization too, because if we can see the problem clearly, maybe we can dream a better system into being. Imagine cities that woke up in shifts, schools that started when teenagers' brains were ready, which, by the way, is not 7:30 a.m. Workplaces that offered nap pods without shame, calendars that ebbed and flowed with the seasons. A world not built against sleep, but with it. Too idealistic? Perhaps. But then again, civilization was once just a dream too. You may smile at the thought of monks accidentally inventing capitalism with their sleepy bells, or at the idea that you're ruled by an invisible master named Greenwich Mean Time. But underneath the humour is something tender, something honest. Because deep down, you want to return to that softness, don't you? That feeling of sleep arriving like a tide, not like a command of waking with the sun because it feels good, not because you'll be penalised for tardiness. And even if the world outside isn't there yet, your bedroom can be. Your rituals can honour that older rhythm. You can dim the lights, turn off the screens, listen to the fan or the rain, or your own breath. You can build a small rebellion with your routine, a sanctuary of slowness in a world too fast. Because every night when you choose to truly sleep, you're not retreating. You're remembering, and tomorrow you'll rise not just rested, but realigned, with the pulse of your ancestors, with the logic of stars, with a future that just maybe dreams with you. There's a rhythm pulsing beneath you, not just the rise and fall of your chest, but something much older, like a drumbeat carved into the marrow of time. You might not notice it during the chaos of day, but at night, when the world goes quiet, it begins to speak. You drift now, deeper into that liminal realm, the space between wakefulness and sleep, between now and then, between yourself and something more universal. The room around you fades into suggestion. The air feels thicker, softer, as though padded in memory, a blanket hum. Your fingers don't need to move. Your breath becomes the only language that matters. Slow, slower, until you can almost hear it echoing across centuries. Some scientists believe that early humans didn't sleep alone or in fixed schedules. Instead, they napped in clusters, rotating who watched the fire, who scanned the trees, who held the baby. In fact, a 2017 study of the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer groups on Earth, found that out of a group of 33 adults, someone was always awake, no matter the hour, always watching, always guarding. It is the same rhythm our ancient ancestors followed under open skies and flickering stars. Before the invention of electricity, before artificial hours marched across our calendars, humans slept beneath the stars and awoke to the chorus of birdsong, not iPhone alarms or car horns. Imagine this. 10,000 years ago, you're lying on your back by a glowing fire, the Milky Way arching overhead like spilled sugar on velvet. The air smells of smoke and pine. You've eaten. You're safe. You close your eyes, and the rhythm of the night wraps around you like a cosmic lullaby. So maybe your sleeplessness, those moments you wake at 2 a.m. and feel strangely alert, is not a defect. Maybe it's ancient programming, a holdover from when you were part of something bigger, something tribal, a night watch still ticking quietly inside you. But we've lost that sense of community in the dark, haven't we? Now, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you're often alone. Your street might be lit, but everyone is isolated in their separate cocoons. Light bulbs have banished the night, but they also exiled our nighttime togetherness. Still, the stars remain, constant, patient, watching us sleep like old friends who never went home. Did you know the light from Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, takes 8 years to reach your eyes? That means the twinkle you see tonight actually began its journey in 2017, back when you were someone slightly different. And while you sleep, the Earth keeps spinning, dragging your bedroom slowly beneath that starry dome. You're sailing through space at about 1,000 miles per hour, yet somehow your bedsheets are still tucked in. Isn't that a little funny? Hurtling through the void in your pajamas, worried about tomorrow's to-do list. There's comfort in the absurdity. But back to the rhythm, that mysterious pull that speaks in yawns and goosebumps. It's not just physical, it's emotional, even spiritual. In sleep, you let go. You practice surrender. In some ways, every night is a tiny rehearsal for death, and every morning is a resurrection. The gentle kind with coffee. But not all scientists agree. There are still heated debates about why we dream, or even what sleep is truly for. Some think it's memory consolidation. Others think it's detox for the brain, literally washing out toxins through a special system called the glymphatic system, which becomes 10 times more active during deep sleep. A sort of midnight housekeeping, but without the vacuum cleaner. And as you begin to let go now, just a little more, you can feel that rhythm carry you through the membranes of sleep stages, through the slow wave dreams, through the REM quickenings that light up your brain like a festival of memories. You might dream of people long gone. You might dream of flying, or simply of walking barefoot through places you've never visited in waking life. One theory: dreams are the mind's way of running simulations. Practice runs for emotional survival, like those old flight simulators in arcades, but with more X's and melting clocks. That's SIPT's not failure. That's SIPT's mystery. Still others think it's more than maintenance. It's evolution's secret weapon, a way to process meaning, emotion, trauma, creativity. Your inner storyteller putting on a late-night puppet show. Isn't it strange that we spend about 1/3 of our lives asleep, and yet, if asked to explain what we were just doing for the last 7 hours, we can't? Think of the rhythm, that pulse, that drumbeat beneath the stars. It's not just a reminder of where you came from. It might also be a compass, quietly pointing to where you're meant to go. So as you lie there, part of you already floating past the shoreline of wakefulness, you may wonder, if my sleep still carries ancient echoes, could it also carry seeds of the future? Could how we sleep tonight shape not just how we feel tomorrow, but who we become next year, or even what kind of society we create? But forward, and so you drift, not down, not away. The rhythm doesn't stop, it swells, not in volume, but in feeling, a deeper thrum that moves through your body like a tide in moonlight. You don't hear it, exactly, you remember it, like an old song you used to hum without knowing where it came from. And with that memory comes a quiet realization. Your sleep isn't set just personal. It's set political. Strange thought, isn't it? Lying there, wrapped in softness, halfway to dreams, yet brushing up against something so structured, so sharp-edged. But it's true. How, when, and whether you get to rest is deeply shaped by the systems around you. In fact, sleep, something your ancestors once took for granted under a canopy of stars, has become a kind of luxury. Think of the single parent working a night shift, the delivery driver pulling 12-hour days, the student stacking part-time jobs between unpaid internships. Rest for them isn't a right. It's a negotiation, a gap between obligations, an afterthought squeezed between survival. It's a phrase that floats quietly through late capitalist poetry. I settle sleep when I set 'em dead. But maybe what we're really saying is, I'm too exhausted to rest. Sleep inequality is real. Studies show that people in lower-income neighborhoods sleep significantly less than those in affluent ones, not just because of longer hours, but because of environmental stress, noise pollution, poor lighting, unsafe housing, all things that shake the delicate scaffolding of sleep. And race matters too. Black Americans, for instance, statistically sleep fewer hours, experience lower sleep quality, and are at greater risk for related health conditions. Sleep is not just about melatonin, it's about access, about justice. Isn't that strange, that something so universal can be so unequal? You begin to realize that your own bedtime routine, your fan hum, your cup of tea, your quiet room is not just comfort, it's privilege. A fortress made of silence and softness, and while you earned your rest, not everyone gets to keep theirs. That doesn't mean you should feel guilty for sleeping peacefully tonight. Quite the opposite. It means your rest is a kind of rebellion, a whisper to the world that you are more than your output, more than your paycheck, more than what you can produce before the sun comes up. Some historians say that industrialization was the first true enemy of sleep. Factories needed workers, not dreamers. The mechanical clock replaced the sun. Suddenly, your worth was measured in hours punched, not in dreams dreamt. And now, the enemy wears a friendlier face. Halls, notifications, hustle culture dressed in pastel fonts and motivational quotes, productivity trackers that pretend to care about your well-being, so long as it leads to more well-producing. But your body doesn't care about metrics. It wants darkness. It wants softness. It wants slowness. In fact, your brain won't even begin producing sufficient melatonin, the sleepy time hormone, if you're staring into a bright screen, especially the cool blue light that mimics daylight. And yet, how often do you fall asleep with your phone in your hand, its glow the last thing you see? A quiet irony, we've built a society that celebrates overwork and then sells you lavender eye masks and meditation apps to recover from it. So you lie here tonight, still and awake to the bigger picture. You think of how rest has been repackaged, how sleep is marketed back to us after being taken. And yet, there's power in remembering that sleep is still yours. You can't monetize a dream. You can't brand a moment like this gentle drifting, this sacred dissolve. And that's the beauty. In a world that demands your attention 24/7, choosing to rest is radical. And maybe that's the future calling, not with urgency, but with hush. A future where rest is restored to all who need it, where sleep is no longer rationed by wage or race or geography, where your body's rhythm is not a problem to be solved, but a pattern to be honored. Some thinkers are even beginning to design restful cities, urban spaces shaped not around speed but around sleep. They imagine late-night quiet zones, napping cafes, schools that start later, public parks open at midnight for stargazing, a social architecture where rest is woven into the fabric of life, not pushed to the margins. It sounds dreamy, maybe it is. But then again, all change begins in sleep, in dreams, in those strange, fertile hours when the mind wanders beyond what is and begins to imagine what could be. So tonight, as you drift further into your own stillness, hold on to this. Your rest matters, not just for you, but for the world you're quietly helping to build one dream at a time. You are not lazy. You are not behind. You are not wasting time. You are part of a silent revolution. A sleeper dreaming of better days. A body choosing softness in a world made of steel. And just like that, the rhythm returns. A little slower now, a little deeper, and you follow it without apology. The rhythm deepens now, like footsteps disappearing into velvet snow. You can't quite tell whether you're still awake or already dreaming. The edges of your thoughts feel blurred as though drawn with watercolor instead of ink. And through that mist, a flicker, a light. Not the warm flicker of candlelight or starlight, but blue, cold, artificial, buzzing faintly even when your eyes are closed. You know the one. It lives in your phone, your tablet, your laptop screen. It shines into your face like a lighthouse for the restless, a ghost of daylight glowing long after the sun has gone to bed. This light is new in the story of sleep. Startlingly new. For 99.9% of human existence, our sleep was guided by one simple thing: darkness. When the sun dipped behind the horizon, the world followed. Oil lamps flickered, fire pits warmed, and then the hush, a silence wide enough to cradle a village. Then came the light bulb, a spark, a miracle, a convenience. And then came everything else. Phones in our pockets, TV in every room, streetlights that never blink, and with all of it, sleep began to retreat. Bit by bit, glow by glow, until night became less of a signal and more of an option. The science is clear. Blue light exposure before bed suppresses melatonin. Your brain gets tricked. It thinks it's noon. It delays the signal to wind down. Your rhythms get confused, and instead of drifting, you scroll. You're not alone. A 2023 study found that the average adult checks their phone within 5 minutes of waking, and again within 15 minutes of trying to fall asleep. Some do it with their eyes half shut. Some fall asleep with the phone in hand, screen still glowing like a tiny moon. And if that sounds familiar, you're not broken. You are caught. Caught in a beautifully designed trap. One that feeds your dopamine, keeps you connected, entertains you endlessly, and quietly dismantles your sleep behind the scenes. There's something eerie about it, isn't there? That the same device that plays your lullabies is also the reason you're not falling asleep. Like being serenaded by the thief who took your rest. But let's not blame the screen entirely. It's a tool. It offers comfort, distraction, stimulation, community. The problem is when it colonizes your night, there sits even a name for it now: revenge bedtime procrastination. It describes the phenomenon where people, especially those who feel they have no control during the day, stay up late on purpose, stealing back time for themselves. You know the feeling. Just one more episode, just a few more videos. It feels good in the moment, like rebellion. But in the morning, Your body pays the interest on that stolen time with fatigue, fog, and regret. So what can we do? Maybe the future isn't about banning screens, but befriending the dark again, making it sacred, making it yours. What if, instead of scrolling until you collapse, you created a little evening ritual? Nothing fancy, just a soft closing ceremony. Something that says, I am done for the day. The world can wait. I'm coming home to myself. Some people light candles. Others put their phone in a different room. Some read paper books, stretch on the floor, or stare out the window at the moon, which, by the way, has no notifications. And here's something curious. Scientists have started designing blue light filters for glasses and screens, even developing warmer tech interfaces that dim as the evening progresses. Some phones now shift color temperature after sunset, as if the machine itself is learning to respect your rhythm. But technology can only meet you halfway. The rest? That sip's yours to reclaim. You have to decide when to stop, when to choose stillness over stimulation. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because there's a version of you waiting in the dark. Not lonely, not empty, but peaceful, curious, dreaming. Remember, humans once used the night for reflection, for intimacy, for myth. Around fire circles, they shared stories that became legends, prayers whispered into ash, secrets exchanged between yawns. And now, we scroll through curated highlight reels, noise disguised as connection, speed dressed as rest. But you're here, slowing down, feeling your eyelids grow heavier, letting your body remember the weight of true dark. Outside your window, the stars still burn, unchanged by screens or trends or hashtags. They were there before blue light. They'll be there after. And somewhere deep in your cells, in the quiet architecture of your brain, you're wired to recognize them, to sleep beneath them, to dream with them. So let your phone rest too. Let your inbox wait. Let the internet spin on without you for a few hours. Tonight, you choose the dark. Not as absence, but as sanctuary. Not as void, but as velvet. Not as boredom, but as possibility. And in that darkness, the rhythm continues. Low, steady, safe. Calling you back to where you sip always belonged. The rhythm has taken root in you now. It's no longer just background music. It's something deeper, echoing in your chest, in your bones. You feel it in the way your thoughts stretch like lazy cats. You feel it in how your limbs begin to float, as if your very body were remembering how to trust the dark. And somewhere in this cocoon of calm, a new idea flickers like a candle in the wind. Not everyone sleeps the same, not just in duration or quality, but in timing. And that difference isn't a flaw, it's destiny. You've probably heard it before. Some people are night owls, others early birds. But this isn't about preferences. This is about chronotypes, your internal time signature, a silent fingerprint stamped into your circadian rhythm, telling your body when to be alert, when to eat, when to dream. And the thing is, you didn't choose it. Your chronotype is mostly determined by your genes. In particular, variations in a gene called PR3 influence whether you naturally lean toward early rising or late night alertness. Maybe you've felt it all your life, the morning struggle that no amount of alarm clocks can fix. Or maybe you're one of those who wake up with the sun like it's an old friend who never betrayed you. You might have been praised or punished for your sleep timing. So lazy, so disciplined. But it was never about willpower. It was about wiring. And here's something poetic. Scientists think the variation in chronotypes might have been evolutionary teamwork. In tribal settings, it was helpful to have people waking and sleeping at different times, to guard against predators, tend fires, watch children. The earliest risers would take morning watch, the latest sleepers, the twilight shift. Even now, in our modern bedrooms, that division remains. Couples often joke about one being the early riser and the other the night owl. But it's not just cute, it's ancient. You are part of a long, ongoing strategy for human survival, a biological relay race passed between generations in REM and rising light. And yet, we live in a world that only honors one tempo. School starts at the same hour for every child, even though a teenager's brain doesn't begin to fully wake up until around 10 a.m. Offices expect productivity peaks at 9 a.m., regardless of whether your brain hits its creative stride at midnight. Night owls suffer silently. They're labeled lazy, disorganized, disobedient. But it's not sloth, it's structure. Imagine trying to bloom before your season. That's what we ask of people every day when we ignore their inner clock. And this isn't just about inconvenience, it has consequences. Misaligned chronotypes are linked to sleep disorders, anxiety, and even metabolic issues. It's as if your biology is constantly sprinting uphill against the current of imposed time. Even more intriguingly, some researchers now suspect that chronotypes are shifting over time. With artificial lighting, screen exposure, and late-night social lives, humans may be nudging themselves toward later and later bedtimes. Are we perhaps becoming a nocturnal species in denial? It's an open debate, no one's quite sure, but the idea is delicious, isn't it? That perhaps, in the deep future, sleep won't be a synchronized 11 p.m. ritual, but a kaleidoscope of rhythms that glow like constellations across our cities. Instead of punishing the night dreamers and praising the early grinders, we might simply ask, when does your light shine? There's a sweetness to this idea, that your sleep rhythm isn't a mistake to be corrected, but a language to be translated, a signature, a melody, and every night your body tries to play it, even if the world insists on a different song. So what does your rhythm sound like? Do you come alive in the velvet hours after midnight, when the world is quiet and the ideas are loud? Or do you feel most alert in the golden hush of early morning before the world has fully stirred? Maybe you're neither. Maybe you're a dolphin chronotype. Yes, that's a real term. Light sleeper, alert to the tiniest sound, always hovering between worlds. Like the animal that sleeps with one eye open. You might laugh, but isn't it comforting to think of yourself that way? Not broken, not flawed, just uniquely tuned. So as you settle in deeper tonight, let go of the shame, let go of the snooze button guilt, and the productivity clocks ticking in your head. Instead, listen for your own rhythm. It's there, in the pause between breaths, in the stretch of your toes beneath the blanket. You're not meant to march to someone else's metronome. You're meant to hum your way into sleep, to sway, to drift, to float like music written for one. The future, if it's kind, will honor that. Imagine sleep schedules as personalized as playlists. Bedtimes not imposed but discovered. Calendars that ask, when do you bloom? That's not science fiction. That's sleep truth. And you carry it in you already. Let the rhythm play. Somewhere in the liminal space between night and dawn, your thoughts begin to loosen. Not in chaos, but in creativity. You feel a shift, gentle and strange, like stepping into a room where the rules of physics bend just enough to make everything feel dreamy. You've been here before. Not in waking, not fully asleep, but in that floating state where logic dissolves, time stutters, and meaning becomes fluid. Yes, you're dreaming. And tonight, you decide not just to pass through the dream, but to walk its halls, slowly, curiously, like a traveler in a vast museum of the mind. Have you ever wondered how your dreams are built? They're sets, no single answer. Some scientists suggest that dreams are the brain's attempt to organize short-term memories, sorting through the clutter and compressing it into long-term storage. Others think dreams are simulations, your mind practicing for real-life events in the safety of sleep. And still others propose dreams are purely creative byproducts of neural activity without purpose or plan. But whatever the reason, the architecture is real. In REM sleep, when your body is still but your mind is wildly active, your brain builds worlds, entire narratives, rooms that never existed, people who say just the right thing, weather that feels eerily accurate. You've likely tasted food in a dream, felt warmth, flown, loved. Isn't it that miraculous? Your brain, shut off from the outside world, turns inward and builds entire realities from scratch, starring you. You are both the architect and the wanderer, the playwright and the lead actor. And when you awaken, it vanishes, just like that. But some of it stays. A scent, a sentence, a feeling, like mist on your skin. Dreams aren't just entertainment, they're emotional landscapes. In fact, modern neuroscience suggests that the most vivid dreams tend to appear after emotionally intense days. Your brain, it seems, uses dream time to soften the hard edges of experience, to reframe a breakup, to process a fight, to let grief become less sharp. There accepts a theory called the overnight therapy model. It suggests that dreams act like a gentle counselor, helping you move through painful experiences without re-triggering trauma. You re-experience emotions, but in abstract, symbolic form. A lost key instead of a lost loved one. A maze instead of a moral dilemma. Your dreams aren't lying to you, they're just using metaphor, because that's the language your sleeping brain speaks best. Of course, not all dreams are peaceful. Some startle you awake, some confuse, some make you question your sanity. Have you ever had the dream where your teeth fall out? It's such one of the most common across all cultures. Some say it means you're afraid of losing control. Others think it sits about shame. A hidden study even linked it to mild jaw tension, but no one really knows. That's the thing about dreams, they remain elusive. Even now, in the age of brain scans and sleep labs, we still don't know why we dream. There is no scientific consensus. And perhaps that sips the point. Maybe dreams aren't sit meant to be solved. Maybe they sit meant to be felt. Ancient civilizations certainly thought so. The Egyptians believed dreams were messages from the gods. They had dream interpreters as a royal profession. The Greeks built temples called Asclepions, where people would sleep in hopes of being healed through sacred dreams. Even the Aboriginal peoples of Australia speak of dream time, not just a sleep state, but a sacred dimension where the spiritual and physical worlds overlap. In other words, dreams were never just night thoughts. They were doorways. And maybe they still are. You roll slightly in bed, still half tethered to waking, and begin to remember your own recent dreams. Not in detail, but in texture. A hallway that kept looping. A face you knew but couldn't stand name. An animal that stared straight into you. Have you ever noticed that dreams often feel important, even if you can't explain why? That sip's not coincidence. The limbic system, your brain's emotional core, is highly active during REM sleep, but the prefrontal cortex, your rational decision maker, is quiet. That sip's why dreams feel true in the moment. Why you never question the flying cat or the underwater library. You believe everything until you don't set. And when you wake, you wonder, what was that supposed to mean? Why did it feel like a memory I never had? Was that dream trying to tell me something? Maybe. And here sips something even stranger. Some people can control their dreams. Lucid dreaming. A state where you become aware that you're dreaming without waking up. It's rare. Only about 20% of people experience it regularly. But it sets real. And it can be learned. In lucid dreams, people have reported flying at will, confronting phobias, solving creative problems, even rehearsing real-life conversations. But even if you've never lucid dreamed, there's something fascinating about knowing it's possible, that your mind, in its quiet hours, may be far more powerful than you ever imagined. And tonight, as you drift toward your next dream, you might begin to sense the truth. Your dreams are not just reflections of your day. They set previews of your potential, soft blueprints of your inner world, unfinished sketches of who you might become. So don't rush through them. Don't dismiss them. Let each one unfold like a message in a bottle. Because who you are in your dreams is part of who you are in waking life. And perhaps, just perhaps, your dreams know something about your future that your conscious mind has not yet caught up to. Sleep now. Build something beautiful. The glow is gone now. You set it aside. Phone dimmed, screens quiet. You feel the weight of silence like a heavy blanket, not crushing but grounding, a return to gravity. And now that the static has cleared, you notice what sips left. Your breath, and the quiet ticking of thoughts that no longer ask to be solved. But sometimes, silence isn't set gentle. Sometimes, when the lights go out and the world grows quiet, a different visitor comes calling. Insomnia. It creeps in on tiptoe, wearing no shoes. It whispers things you didn't want to think about. It taps your shoulder with questions like, did you forget something? Shouldn't you be worried? What if you never fall asleep again? and suddenly the soft nest you'd built with routine and intention becomes a stage, a performance of stillness, starring you and your brain and a million thoughts that seemed content to stay quiet all day, until now. But maybe insomnia isn't set to villain. Maybe it sets a messenger. You shift slightly under the covers, not to escape it, but to acknowledge it, to give it shape. It's not just about stress or caffeine or too much screen time. Sometimes insomnia is your body's way of saying something's off. Something gets unspoken. Something wants to be heard before the curtain falls. Historically, insomnia wasn't always viewed as a disorder. In some cultures, it was considered a form of heightened awareness. Shamans and mystics sought it. Monks embraced it. Poets wrote entire odes to it by candlelight. And in the hush of 3 a.m., when the world sleeps and you do not, you start to feel why. That's a clarity that comes in sleeplessness. A precision. As if your thoughts are no longer shouting over the noise of the day, but speaking in soft, crystalline tones. You remember things, regret things, imagine things. The stillness becomes a mirror. Of course, that doesn't make the next day any easier. Sleep deprivation is real. It messes with your memory, mood, metabolism. Your brain struggles to detoxify. Your reaction time slows. In fact, after just one night of poor sleep, studies show your cognitive function can mimic legally being drunk. And yet, still you lie there, eyes open in the dark, perfectly sober and perfectly tired. It's one of the strangest contradictions of the modern human condition, wanting so badly to sleep and being unable to. Some researchers now think that hyperarousal is the root of insomnia, not just mental overthinking, but a full-body state of heightened alertness, like your nervous system never got the memo that it's time to shut down. And here's the twist. Many people with chronic insomnia also score higher on measures of intelligence, emotional sensitivity, and creativity. That's right. The same mind that keeps you awake may be the same mind that creates wonders. But that doesn't mean you have to suffer. Maybe, instead of battling insomnia, you can learn to dance with it. Try this. When you can't sleep, don't stare at the ceiling like it owes you something. Don't count imaginary sheep like you're balancing a budget. Instead, listen. Not to sound, but to the murmur beneath. Let your mind walk. Let it visit strange corners. Let it ask the questions it was too shy to raise in daylight. What am I afraid of losing? What am I ready to become? Why does 2 a.m. feel like a confession booth? And if none of those land, just breathe. Feel your ribcage rise like a tide. Feel it fall. You don't have to be asleep to be at peace. Ironically, many sleep experts say, stop trying to sleep, get up, sit in low light, read something slow, listen to something soft. Tell your body, it's okay, we'll try again later. This removes the pressure. This removes the performance. Because sometimes the harder you chase sleep, the faster it runs. But if you turn your back, hum your own quiet lullaby, and make a little space for wonder, it often returns. Like a cat who only comes when ignored. And you'll welcome it. Not with desperation, but with relief. Not like a conqueror, but like a host. Because even insomnia, in all its frustrating sharpness, carries a truth. You stir alive. Feeling, questioning, wrestling with being. And the fact that you long for sleep means you still know what you deserve. So if tonight your eyes remain open longer than you'd like, that's okay. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply between tides. Drift anyway. Float anyway. Let the rhythm return, not in hours or stages, but in presence. Sleep, after all, is patient, and it will wait for you, as it always has. You wake briefly, not all the way, just enough to remember you're warm. The sheets have found your favorite shape. A sigh escapes you, but it's soft and almost unconscious. Somewhere beneath the surface, your dreaming mind is still humming, still creating. And even though your conscious thoughts begin to flicker, they aren't quite ready to take control. So instead, you stay suspended, still in the quiet dark, floating somewhere between then and next. And in this quiet suspension, you begin to notice a strange thought curling at the edges. Why do we all sleep so differently? It's easy to forget that sleep isn't one size fits all. You hear about 8 hours a night, like it's some golden rule etched in stone. But throughout history and across the world, people have slept in fascinatingly diverse ways. Take segmented sleep. For most of history, humans didn't sleep in one solid block. Instead, they practiced what's now called biphasic sleep, a first sleep and a second sleep divided by a peaceful hour or two of wakefulness around midnight. During this quiet interlude, people would read, pray, journal, even visit neighbors by candlelight. It was seen not as insomnia, but as a sacred pause. This was normal, even documented by name in historical texts. But with the arrival of artificial light, and eventually the industrial age, the continuous 8-hour sleep became the new ideal. It was more efficient, more factory-friendly, and now, most of us assume sleeping in 2 shifts is a disorder. How strange, how fast we forget. Meanwhile, across the globe, there are still cultures who nap multiple times a day. Polyphasic sleep, they call it now. In Mediterranean regions, the siesta is still sacred. In some African communities, sleep is interwoven with night watch duties, storytelling, and community rituals. Even animals, you remember, don't conform to our rigid sleep charts. Giraffes sleep in 5-minute bursts. Dolphins let one half of their brain sleep while the other stays awake. Migratory birds sleep mid-flight. And we humans, we try to shut down for 8 hours straight, then panic when we can't. It's funny how we expect ourselves to be perfectly predictable machines, isn't it? But the truth is, your sleep is as unique as your fingerprint. Your rhythm, your cycle, your mind's need for repair, it's all yours. And learning to listen to that rhythm might just be the secret to a better life. Sleep scientists call it your chronotype. Some people are night owls. Their energy swells with the moon, their creativity peaks just before dawn. Others are larks, early risers who feel most alive before the city stirs. Still others don't fall neatly into either camp. They are midday bloomers, afternoon philosophers, twilight wanderers. And yet, society tends to reward just one rhythm. The 9 to 5, the early bird, the alarm clock hero. So what happens to those whose bodies don't match the schedule? They struggle, they feel shame, they're called lazy. But maybe they set to just different. Maybe their inner clocks are set to a more celestial time. There's even a gene called PEER3 that influences your internal sleep-wake cycle. Some people carry a version that makes them naturally inclined to sleep early and wake early. Others carry a version that leans them toward later nights and longer mornings. It's not just preference, it's Stibbs biology. And here for it's a cosmic twist. As we age, our sleep patterns shift. Children drift easily into deep sleep. Teenagers become nocturnal philosophers. Adults gravitate towards structure. And elders often rise before the sun, pulled upward by some ancient inner bell. Your sleep changes because you change. The future you will not sleep exactly like the present you, and isn't set to that kind of poetic, like the way trees lean with the season, like the tides that respond to the moon. Your sleep is not just rest, it's a rhythm, ever-changing, ever-adapting. Now let's drift somewhere a little stranger, because beyond science, beyond history, there's another thread, one that's harder to explain. Have you ever had a night where your body sleeps, but your mind feels like it's elsewhere? You don't wake up tired. You don't dream vividly, but you feel as though you traveled. Some traditions call this astral projection. Others speak of soul journeys. Even science, ever cautious, has begun to examine the phenomenon of micro-wakefulness, where the brain enters fleeting moments of awareness without the body fully waking. No one agrees on what this means. Are we traveling? Are we reprogramming? Are we simply aware of our own inner repairs? No one knows. But if you've ever felt it, you know the feeling is hard to dismiss. And maybe that sips the thread tying all of this together. Sleep is not uniform. It is not equal. It is not merely off. It is a spectrum. A dance between neurons, between genes, between culture and chemistry. a fingerprint made of fog. And maybe the way we sleep now offers a mirror reflecting who we are in this moment of history. Structured, exhausted, trying to control the uncontrollable, but also curious, adapting, remembering how to listen. So tonight, as you drift deeper, let your mind wander to this quiet question. What might your future sleep look like? What if we stopped forcing everyone into the same sleep box? What if we honored our rhythms instead of suppressing them? Maybe one day cities will be built to accommodate all chronotypes. Workplaces that shift with the sun and the moon, digital windows that mimic dusk and dawn on demand, communities that nap together, dream labs that help us heal through REM. Far-fetched. Maybe, or maybe it's SUP's already beginning. Close your eyes now. Whatever rhythm your body chooses, trust it. Sleep is not a clock. It SUP's a compass. Follow it inward. You are still adrift. No longer in your body's edges, but somewhere deeper now, past the usual echo of your own thoughts. Here, the space feels soft, full of invisible cushions. Time slows and everything seems to shimmer gently from within. And yet, a question still pulses in this quiet dark. What if our dreams are not just echoes of memory or mood, but whispers from the future? You've likely felt it, that eerie flicker when a dream seems to predict something. A face you hadn't seen in years, appearing just days before they call. A strange image, like a ladder in a thunderstorm or a glowing fish in an empty room, later mirrored in life in some uncanny way. Coincidence? Maybe. But even scientists, with all their instruments and caution, have catalogued these reports. Dreams that precede disasters. Dreams that reveal illness before symptoms. Dreams that lead to invention or healing or sudden understanding. Carl Jung once described dreams as a letter from the unconscious to the conscious mind. But what if the unconscious isn't just our personal archive? What if it's also a time traveler? Consider this. While you're awake, your brain is constantly analyzing, comparing input, weighing outcomes, suppressing noise. But when you sleep, all that filtering stops. Your brain is free to simulate, to imagine scenarios in a non-linear, boundaryless realm. It takes what you know, mixes it with what you fear and what you hope, and swirls it into symbolic theatre. Could this theatre be doing more than just reflecting your past? Some researchers believe dreams are a form of prospective coding, your brain's way of rehearsing for possible futures. Like simulations in a cosmic laboratory. A soft rehearsal for what hasn't yet happened. Yet, it's strange, isn't it? That while our waking selves build calendars and schedules, our dreaming selves might be sketching blueprints for what's to come. But the truth is, we don't fully know what dreams are. They remain one of science's most persistent mysteries. We know they happen mostly during REM sleep. We know that the visual cortex and limbic system light up like constellations. We know that blind people dream in sound and touch. We know that fetuses in the womb show brainwaves resembling REM. But why? That SIP's still debated. Some believe dreams are emotional detox. Others say they help with memory consolidation, like pressing save on your brain's document of the day. Still others see them as random static, just the brain's way of staying active. But every so often, there sits a dream that feels more than memory, more than noise, something symbolic, poetic. A dream that feels like a message in a bottle tossed backward through time. And maybe that SIP's the best clue we have. Because if dreams are letters from the future, or even from ourselves in the future, then sleep is not just restoration. It sits prophecy. Let SIPs step outside your mind for a moment. Imagine a world where dreams are recorded like diary entries, where each citizen is gently scanned during REM and the dream world is mapped like a shifting galaxy. In this world, therapists and scientists aren't separate. They're dream interpreters, data readers, sleep art curators. What might we learn? Maybe we'd find patterns, a certain kind of dream that arises just before someone heals from heartbreak. A motif that appears in people destined for great change. A certain glowing animal that seems to visit those at the edge of breakthrough. Sounds like fantasy, doesn't set it. But you're still dreaming. And inside the dream, even fantasy is just an unproven future. Let me tell you a story. True or not, your mind will decide. In the 1800s, a chemist named Auguste Kekulé was struggling to understand the molecular structure of benzene. He saw atoms, knew their behaviors, but couldn't crack the ring-shaped pattern. One night, as he dozed near the fire, he dreamed of a snake swallowing its own tail, a symbol from ancient alchemy. He woke with a start. And just like that, the structure clicked. The benzene ring, circular and self-connected. A vision from the dream world, gifting a breakthrough to waking science. Coincidence? Perhaps. But these stories are not rare. Elias Howe, the inventor of the sewing machine, dreamt of warriors with spears that had holes near the tip, just like the future design of the needle. Paul McCartney once said the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream, complete and intact. These aren't set accidents. They are intersections. You feel it too, don't you? That maybe, just maybe, your dreams know something your waking mind doesn't. Tonight, you might meet someone you haven't met yet. You might walk through a city you'll one day visit. You might feel a love that hasn't arrived yet, or a sorrow that prepares you gently. And maybe when you wake it'll fade, but some part will stay. A seed, a whisper, a tiny echo of tomorrow. So don't rush to explain it away. Let the dreams come, even the strange ones, even the ones that leave you blinking in the dark. They are part of the pattern. And patterns, like stars, often take time to make sense. You turn now, gently, in your bed. The fan hums like a lullaby. And your mind, half here, half far away, drifts deeper into that soft space between sleep and story. What will you dream tonight? And what might it mean tomorrow? The air around you thickens, not heavy, but syrupy soft, like sleep itself is brushing against your skin, whispering lullabies through unseen threads. You are farther now than you've ever been from your waking mind. There's no clock here, no sense of time's grip, only a velvet hush. And yet, time still flows, sideways. As you float, you begin to see something flickering in the dark. Not a dream exactly, not memory, but something in between. It's a pattern, a rhythm, like your sleep is playing an instrument, and your life is its song. Let's ask something gentle but strange. Could the way you sleep reveal the kind of future you're growing toward? We all know someone who wakes at 4 a.m., sharp and alert like a sunflower chasing dawn. And we all know someone else who only begins to bloom after midnight, when the world is quieter, when thoughts feel deeper. Science calls this your chronotype, a kind of genetic fingerprint that determines whether you're a morning lark, a night owl, or somewhere in between. And it matters more than you think. Because chronotypes don't just shape your bedtime, they shape your entire rhythm of existence. Studies have shown that your internal clock can influence your creativity, your mental health, your risk for disease, even your career choices. Some CEOs are up at 5, while others, like Winston Churchill, only found clarity deep into the night, champagne in one hand, bathrobe billowing. Even your dreams can shift with your chronotype. Night owls tend to have more vivid and complex dreamscapes, layered, cinematic, full of strange portals. Morning types, simpler, lighter dreams, often focused on daily problem solving. It's as if your sleep is not just resting you, but sketching your future in invisible ink. But here's the twist. In modern life, we've built a world that favors certain rhythms. The 9 to 5, the morning meeting, the early alarm. And in doing so, we've asked many people to live out of sync with their own biological truth. This has a name too, social jet lag. It's what happens when your natural rhythm is out of step with the demands of society, when your body says sleep, but the world says go. And it leaves a mark on your mood, your energy, even your lifespan. In one quirky study, researchers found that night owls forced into early routines showed patterns of stress akin to long-haul travelers. Every day was a kind of mini jet lag without ever leaving the ground. And yet, our bodies try to adapt. Over time, your sleep learns to speak 2 languages, one for your clock and one for your calendar. This duality, it shapes your future in subtle ways. Imagine this. 2 people, equally talented. One is well rested, aligned with their natural rhythm. The other is constantly battling their own biology. Over years, who might thrive more? Who might stumble sooner? Even the tiniest sleep debt compounds, like interest on an invisible loan. And sometimes the payment comes due in moments you least expect. But here sips the comforting part. You can realign, slowly, gently, by honoring your rhythm, not trying to fix it, but understanding it. Night owls might structure creative work late and protect mornings for quiet. Morning types might guard their sunrise hours like sacred ground. And some days, you'll sleep late, dream long, and wake with the strange feeling that the dream mattered. Because it did. You see, sleep is not passive. It's sculpting your future, not just how you feel tomorrow, but how you become tomorrow. There's something beautiful in that. Because your future isn't just a product of effort and goals. It's also shaped in the quiet, unlit hours by how deeply you rest, by what you allow yourself to release, by the rhythm you follow when no one else is watching. There's a reason monks and mystics have always honored sleep. They believed that how you sleep says everything about how you live and how ready you are for what comes next. And maybe, somewhere deep in the folds of your own sleep, that truth is waiting. Picture this. Except 50 years from now. Humanity has evolved in many ways. But one quiet revolution, personalized sleep architecture. People live not by alarm clocks, but by light rhythms. Homes adjust their temperature, sound, and scent based on your circadian data. Workplaces adapt to your peak alertness windows. Children are raised with care to protect their dream cycles. And therapy? It begins not with talking, but with listening to your sleep data. Your dreams, your chronotype, your rhythms are no longer considered quirks. These are maps. Maps that guide us toward who we are becoming. A little wild? Yes. But remember, many things that shape the future begin as gentle questions in the dark. And you, right now, are part of that unfolding. As you breathe here, quietly drifting toward deeper sleep, feel your own rhythm humming. Not rushed, not broken, just waiting to be honored. Your body knows. Your future is listening, and your sleep is leading the way. You're deeper now, so deep, in fact, that words feel less like sounds and more like gentle shapes drifting toward you. You don't try to hold them, you simply let them brush past, like a hand parting tall grass in a dream meadow. And yet, even here, sleep is doing more than resting you. It is aligning you. You might not realize it, but your nightly journey through different stages of sleep follows a rhythm so ancient, so delicately orchestrated. It mirrors the rhythms of stars and seasons, sleep cycles, circadian rhythms, ultradian waves. It's as if your body is a tide pulled by invisible moons. Each 90-minute cycle, light sleep, deep sleep, REM, is a dance your body knows without thinking, like a language learned in the womb. And here sits the almost mystical part. That rhythm is not just biological, it steps cosmological. The Earth's rotation gives us day and night, and with it, our internal clocks evolved. There's a pocket of neurons in your brain, the suprachiasmatic nucleus that sits just above your optic nerves. It measures light and shadows and commands the ebb and flow of your melatonin, your cortisol, your waking and resting selves. That little bundle of neurons is your personal sundial. But it doesn't act alone. The bacteria in your gut follow circadian rhythms. So do your liver cells. Your bones, your skin, your very DNA dances to a beat that echoes the turning of the earth. You are a rhythm nested within rhythms, like a drum within a heartbeat within a song. And just like any orchestra, when one instrument is off, the whole performance suffers. This is why irregular sleep, fragmented schedules, late-night lights, skipping REM doesn't just make you tired. It misaligns you. It's like stepping off the spinning wheel of time, even for a night. You feel it. The strange fog the next day, the emotional brittleness, the dull ache in the middle of your thoughts. And that misalignment carries forward. Sleep debt doesn't just haunt your body, it accumulates. Some researchers even believe there's a kind of sleep fingerprint, a long-term pattern of when and how you sleep that can forecast mental health outcomes, memory capacity, even lifespan. Isn't that wild? Sleep as a predictor of destiny. You might ask, if my rhythm is broken, can I fix it? Yes, but not with force, with gentleness. It's not about tricking your body, it's about reintroducing it to its own ancient music. Let the light in early. Dim it early at night. Eat meals at regular intervals. Avoid bright screens after dusk. All these are ways of whispering, hey, the sun is setting now. Let sets turn inward. Let sets prepare to return to the deep. And the body listens, because the body wants to return. It's stis not fighting you. It's stis just confused. Modern life, with all its glowing clocks and all hours dopamine bursts, is like shouting into your brain's soft symphony. But if you restore the quiet, even a little, the rhythm returns. And with it, something far deeper, trust. Because sleep is trust, isn't set. You trust the world enough to close your eyes. You trust your body to keep breathing. You trust your heart not to forget its next beat. Every night is an act of surrender, of participation in a rhythm far older than your name. And here sips a tiny poetic fact for you. In certain Arctic villages where the sun disappears for months, sleep rhythms don't vanish. They adapt. People sleep in longer, looser patterns. Their melatonin ebbs and flows not by light, but by routine, by warmth, by social cues, by story. Even without sunlight, the rhythm finds a way. It wants to continue. So maybe you too can find your rhythm again. Not perfectly, not suddenly, but steadily. Each night, you draw a little closer to alignment. You tune the strings of your inner harp. You remember that sleep is not just something you do, it's something you are. A nightly reunion with the pulse of life itself. Now let your breath follow that rhythm. In, slow and deep. Out, softer still. Feel your inhale rise like the tide. Feel your exhale fall like dusk. Let your chest become the clock. And as you rest there, gentle as sea foam, you might wonder, if your body knows the rhythm of the earth so well, what else does it remember? Does it know the rhythm of other lives? Other generations? Scientists still debate whether our sleep patterns carry genetic echoes, whether your grandmother's insomnia lives faintly in your cells, whether your ancestors' sunrise toil or midnight prayers still play faintly in your hormonal tides. No one knows for sure, but doesn't it feel true? Doesn't it seem possible that your body remembers not just what you've lived, but what has been lived through you? And so when you rest well, you don't just heal yourself. You heal a line, a rhythm that spans centuries, one breath at a time, one quiet night at a time. And maybe that sips the future too. Not something we race toward, but something we fall into, softly, aligned and ready. Just like this. By now you are not merely dreaming, you are remembering how to dream. Because that's the secret of sleep beneath the science, beneath the stages and cycles. It is a remembering, a return. Not just to rest, but to the future you are always becoming. And here, in this final chamber of tonight's Sip's descent, we explore perhaps the strangest truth of all. Sleep doesn't just prepare you for tomorrow. It creates tomorrow. Literally. When you sleep, your brain doesn't just file memories, it recombines them. It plays, it riffs, it improvises. The hippocampus, which stores memories, passes notes to the neocortex, which weaves meaning from them. And in that exchange, fragile, flickering, fluid, you make sense of your life. You dream of an old teacher with your sister's voice. You find yourself in a future city with buildings made of glass and fog. You solve problems in your dreams that you couldn't crack awake. Even Paul McCartney claimed the melody of yesterday came to him in sleep, so perfectly formed he thought someone else had written it. Dreams are the compost of consciousness. They take yesterday's thoughts and grow tomorrow's insight. And it's not just artists and mystics who say this. Studies have shown that people perform better on complex tasks after sleeping, even if they weren't consciously working on the problem. It's as if the sleeping brain is a silent lab, running simulations while the ego sleeps. So what does this mean for your future? It means this. Every night you truly rest, you become more yourself. more aligned with the future version of you, calmer, clearer, wiser. But here sets to curious thought. What if the future needs your dreams? Not just for you, but for us. What if the world we are building, this tangled, accelerating, aching planet, can only be navigated by people who are well rested enough to imagine better paths? There's an idea in neuroscience called the default mode network, or DMN. It activates when you're not focused on a task, when you're daydreaming, wandering, resting. And in those unguarded moments, the DMN lights up with ideas about the future, about empathy, about the self in relation to others. It sips the cradle of creativity and compassion. And it only functions well when you sip slept. So maybe the future depends not on how fast we think, but on how well we pause. Maybe the next great breakthrough, the next medicine, the next movement, the next healing will be dreamed, not designed. And maybe that's why sleep deprivation is so devastating. Not just because it exhausts you, but because it narrows what you can imagine. A tired brain becomes more reactive, more rigid, more fearful. It clings to what it knows. A rested brain? It wanders. It wonders. So here sits your quiet revolution. Sleep as resistance. Sleep as restoration. Sleep as seed. Because when you sleep well, you're not retreating from life. You stir returning to the workshop of your mind, the forge where hope and memory combine. And if your dreams seem strange tonight, embrace them. Maybe you'll wake tomorrow with a thought you didn't expect. A gentle idea that wasn't set there before. A new way to solve an old problem. Or simply a softness in your step that others feel too. You see, the future doesn't arrive like a marching band. It arrives like this. In whispers. In rhythms. In moments of pause. It arrives in dreams that reshuffle your truths. It arrives in a tired you who dares to rest. And that sips the real magic. Because no technology, no philosophy, no clever invention has ever replaced sleep, and none ever will. It is too fundamental, too mysterious, too human. So tonight, you've done something powerful. You Seb let go. You have turned inward. You Seb remembered the rhythm. And maybe, just maybe, you've touched the edge of the future. Not by chasing it, but by trusting it to come, like morning always does, in the hush before the birds, in the pale, soft stretch of dawn, in the you who wakes tomorrow with something new, quietly born in the dark. And now we let it settle, and now nothing left to chase. Let everything slow. Let your breath loosen its grip on the day. The questions, the stories, the hopes, they can wait. They are still here, safely held in the soft folds of your mind. But now you get to set them down. As if they were small stones in your pocket, you empty them one by one. The weight you carried all day begins to drift. Imagine the ceiling above you widening, then melting into sky. Feel the room around you soften like a cloud. The bed below becomes less a surface and more a gentle tide. You are floating now, not asleep, not awake, not needing to choose. You are in the sacred middle, the liminal hush, the velvet hallway between today and tomorrow. Your heartbeat is a whisper in the night, your breath a tide against the shore of dreams. The world still turns. Yes, time still hums, but here you are outside of all that. Here you are only a body at rest, a mind gently unweaving, a soul returning to the quiet. And whatever didn't make sense today doesn't need to. Let it dissolve like mist in the morning. Let it become tomorrow sips insight. There is nothing urgent now, nothing to fix, nothing to prove, nothing to hold. Only softness, only stillness, only this moment. And soon you will drift into the deeper waters, into that rich black ocean of dream and renewal, the place where stars hum lullabies and neurons weave lullabies of their own. You are safe here. You are allowed to disappear for a while, because you will return. And when you do, you may just find that something within you has shifted. Something subtle, something kind, something that looks a little like hope. Now rest, sleeper. You've earned it. Softly now, Like falling into warm sand, you settle deeper into this twilight stream of thought. Your breath slows. The room hushes. Somewhere far behind you is the ticking world of deadlines and devices. Ahead, only the velvety pull of wonder. You drift. And as you drift, you begin to notice something strange, not scary, just unexpected. It's sex, your memories. Not flashing like in movies. No dramatic montages. Just glimmers, like fish below still water. Familiar, but slightly out of order. A scent, a street lamp, a laugh from someone you haven't seen in years. It saps your mind, quietly doing its night work. Because here sits a truth worth curling around. Sleep doesn't just store your memories. It reshuffles them, reweights them, even edits them, like a midnight librarian deciding which stories get front shelf space in your brain. Scientists call this memory consolidation, but that phrase doesn't do justice to the magic of what's happening. Imagine your mind like a vast museum. Each night, sleep curates it. It dims certain lights, highlights others. Sometimes it even moves the furniture. And dreams? They serve the surrealist wing, where logic loosens its tie and starts painting upside down. One famous study showed that people who slept after learning something performed significantly better on tests the next day, especially if they entered deep REM sleep. Another study found that even a nap could double your ability to remember a list of words. But it sits not just about data, it sips about meaning. Sleep helps you decide what sip's important. Like a subtle internal editor, it says, this we keep, that not worth the shelf space. And just like that, your story sharpens. Not the whole truth, but a version that feels truer to you. Which brings us to something curiously emotional. Sleep doesn't just affect what you remember. It changes how you remember it. Say you had a difficult conversation. During sleep, especially REM, your brain replays that memory, but now stripped of its rawest sting. You still recall the moment, but it's gentler now, softer at the edges. That sip's why people often say, let me sleep on it. Because the mind, left to its own rhythms, is deeply wise. It knows how to wrap hard truths in velvet. It knows how to tuck sharp edges into silk folds. This is the night's hidden labor, tending to emotional wounds we didn't even know we carried. Some researchers believe REM sleep is like overnight therapy. And here septs a quirky twist. When you dream about something you recently learned or experienced, you're more likely to retain it. It's as if your brain is whispering to itself, rehearsing the memory until it sticks. But here's the mystery. No one fully understands why. Some say dreams are just random firings. Others believe they set symbolic puzzles. And some, like you, maybe suspect they set something more. Messages, lessons, a dialogue with something deeper. One theory, the threat simulation theory, suggests that dreams evolved as a kind of mental boot camp. You simulate danger to prepare yourself for real life. That dream where you're being chased, maybe it's your ancient wiring running drills. But what about the dreams that feel prophetic? You know the ones. You wake up and just know something shifted. Not because of plot or logic, but because of a lingering emotional texture. The science doesn't yet have a box for that. And maybe it never will. But sleep doesn't need full explanation to work its wonder. Because every night you lie down and surrender. Without trying, without willing it, your brain begins sorting and sculpting your very sense of self. And somewhere in the folds of your sheets, your future self is being gently shaped. Who you forgive, what you let go, which story you keep telling yourself. Sleep is the author behind the curtain, rearranging the pages while you rest. Remember that time you felt a sudden burst of clarity after a long night's sleep? That wasn't a coincidence. That was the night doing its work. You just woke up at the right part of the edit. And sometimes, sleep deletes what no longer serves. There's a phenomenon called synaptic pruning, where the brain literally trims away unused neural connections during sleep. Think of it as cosmic decluttering. Your brain whispers, you haven't used this fear in a while, let it go. Or, this idea you've been clinging to, it's time. What remains is leaner, sharper, more you. In a way, every morning you wake up new, recalibrated, retuned. Even if you don't feel it right away, the work was done. And slowly, night after night, sleep becomes your silent sculptor. And here sits a gentle, wild thought. If your memories are being reassembled every night, are you ever exactly the same person twice? Maybe identity is less like a statue, more like a slow-moving cloud, shaped, reshaped, never fully fixed. And sleep? Sleep is the wind. Soft, mysterious, always moving you forward. So as you lie here now, eyes heavy, breath slow, feel the subtle tug of memory sorting itself. Feel the tender librarian at work. Feel the sculptor smoothing the clay. Let it happen. You don't have to do a thing. Just drift. Just breathe. Just let go. Because the most important changes often happen when you're not looking. Now, as the silence deepens and your body grows softer than a shadow in moonlight, we step into an even more curious terrain, one where time behaves like a dream and your future may already be whispering back through your sleep. Yes, what if sleep doesn't just store the past? What if it rehearses the future? Imagine this. Your brain, in the deepest hours of the night, simulating tomorrow before it arrives, running gentle rehearsals of conversations not yet had, decisions not yet made, paths not yet walked. It's called prospective memory, the ability to remember to do something in the future. Sleep sharpens it. People who get more deep and REM sleep tend to be better at remembering planned tasks, a birthday to call, a medication to take, a goal to chase. Your mind, while you're curled in stillness, is sketching out blueprints, like an architect dreaming in starlight. And the rehearsal doesn't stop at memory. Your brain also simulates entire possible scenarios. Ever wake up with a strange but useful solution to something you didn't even know was bothering you? That's not luck, that's nocturnal problem solving. One study had participants try to solve complex puzzles. Those who slept were far more likely to crack them the next day. It's as if the mind, relieved of the burden of waking logic, opens side doors in the night. But here sits the delicious twist. This simulation is often emotional first and rational second. You might not dream of the exact conversation you need to have, but you might feel its tone, its direction, its emotional texture, soft, forgiving, uncertain, strong. It's as though your subconscious is setting the stage, adjusting the lighting, placing props. So when the moment comes, your waking self walks in already halfway familiar, like déjà vu wrapped in preparation. You smile, you speak, you surprise even yourself. And the dream nods in the background, like an old friend. Sleep doesn't just imagine your future. It helps you prepare for it. But, and this is where it gets strange, it may also help you detect futures that haven't yet arrived in any conscious way. You've heard of precognitive dreams, haven't you? The ones where people dream of an event before it occurs, often mundane, sometimes eerie. Science is cautious here. There sits a little hard evidence. Coincidence, they say. Confirmation bias. Misremembered timing. And yet, too many of us have felt it. Dreams that foretold a place we hadn't yet visited. A meeting. A phrase. A glance that would echo days later. Are we glimpsing timelines? Or is the dreaming mind simply more attuned to patterns than we realize? Here's a peculiar tidbit. The ancient Greeks believed dreams could travel forward in time. The god Morpheus, bringer of dreams, was seen not only as a messenger, but a herald. Maybe dreams do run ahead of us, like scouts, mapping terrain we haven't reached, leaving clues for when we arrive. Of course, modern science still squints at such things. We don't know. We can know, but the unknowing that sips part of the beauty. Because it means your dreams remain wild, uncharted. They can still surprise you. And sleep, in its slow, mysterious choreography, gives your future room to stretch and shape itself in peace. Think of how animals behave before migration. They sleep more. They grow restless. Something inside knows the shift is coming. What if you're not so different? What if your deepest instincts live inside your sleep, preparing you not for survival in the wilderness, but survival of the soul, to change gracefully, to let go wisely, to step into what's next without needing to see the whole path. Because isn't it that what dreaming really is? Practice in trusting the invisible. When you sleep, you surrender, fully, utterly, sweetly. And still, your heart keeps beating. Your breath keeps flowing. Your mind keeps working. You don't stuck control it. You don't have to. And so, in sleep, you learn the sacred art of letting go, of effort, of expectation, of needing to know what happens next. You become a student of uncertainty, and your reward, resilience, clarity, grace under pressure. These are not small things. These are the bones of a steady life. So tonight, as you listen to this soft unfolding, what parts of your future are whispering in? What solutions are gliding beneath your awareness? What shifts are already growing in the soil of your subconscious? You don't need to answer now. Just let it hum beneath your ribs. Let it rise like mist behind your eyes. Sleep will shape it for you. Quietly, lovingly, without demand. All you need to do is close your eyes and give it the time. Because sleep isn't sit the pause. It sets the process, the cocoon, the workshop, the quiet revolution. And in its hands, you are always becoming, always, somehow, already on your way.